Hello and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Shonen Dump podcast. My name is Nick and I'm joined by my co-host, Bobby.
What's up?
This week, I think, was fantastic. I pretty much liked everything that we got going on coming up. A few things that probably are a little bit lesser in my eyes, but we have a break week coming up, so we will not be doing an episode of the podcast. We might be trying to fill it with something else, but that's neither here nor there. We'll both be out of town, so if we get to it, we'll get to it, but there is going to be a break week. But we're going to be starting this week with the My Hero Academia chapter. Now, I got spoiled for this. I think you did too.
I sort of got spoiled. I mean, I was seeing random stuff on Twitter like Bakugo is dead, right? And okay, I looked at that and I was like, someone's trolling. So I just didn't even believe that's I didn't believe what I saw, but I saw people maybe spoiling something. I was like, whatever, dude.
So I called it several weeks ago. I was like, if they're going to kill anybody, it's going to be Bakugo. And he still might not be dead. They might bring him back in some really contrived, dumb way. But I think that even though he is my favorite character and probably the best written character, I think this is probably one of the best, kind of story twists that the author's ever done. And I don't think it's just because he killed a character. I think it's because he killed the best character. I don't generally think killing a character makes a story better, but I think in this case, with how it was going, it drew interest back into the series that honestly wasn't there with what was going on. Because if we look back at last week and the big, super powerful attack that guy Sun Eater is supposed to be doing to Shigaraki, and we go to this chapter, it literally meant nothing. The chapter opens up with him having the shonen moment with I can't fail, everyone's counting on me, and then he does the blast and he's like, that literally didn't matter. It did nothing.
Like we said before, those three didn't need to be here in this moment. They just kind of were. But obviously Bakugo takes the stage, and he's a character who deserves to be here, who is worth having in this moment. So I think it's really awesome that they gave him more time to shine here.
Now, I haven't been feeling the villain's presence at all this whole time. Because All For One basically lost to Jiro, and that just made me think, oh, they're gonna win for sure. If they could just take a random chance, send out Jiro, and then just be like, oh yeah, no, we got this, then friggin' who cares what's going on?
But I mean, Endeavor was there. He was doing stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, they wouldn't have won if she hadn't done her stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that Bakugo was a casualty in all of this, that kind of just in my mind is oh, they're supposed to be taken seriously. Okay. You killed off the most popular character. And like I said, they might back out. I hope they don't. I hope they commit to something like this. But there is a theory that I sort of subscribe to a little bit, where the second user of One for All is somehow Bakugo, or Bakugo's ancestor or something like that. Not really sure, but it kind of gets reaffirmed a little bit in this chapter with him remembering the second ancestor, or the second user of One for All. I don't know how they would go about it. It really doesn't make sense to me anyway, the whole thing, but his design sort of looks like an adult Bakugo somehow. I don't know. The only reason that they would show off the second user here is to maybe poke at that, because I don't really know if he's going to do that anymore, because at the time, that was 100 chapters ago. So when that stuff was first popping up. So I don't know if his plans changed, because he's definitely trying to end the story now. Whereas back then, I think he was still in the groove of everything. But, this chapter I think was very well done. It was taking over a lot of the Twitter world for a while.
Yeah, I think the execution of the scene was extremely good when you see Bakugo kind of remembering why he wanted to be a hero, like the All Might, like I guess like little card, trading card or something like that he has. You know, that one panel where he said, "Man, I want an autograph so bad." It definitely is like that death flag right there. But something about like his smile there is just so impactful, you know? There's like this level of like he's come to terms with kind of his own life, I guess, is what they're trying to make you feel like he's feeling.
Right.
And they do that whole thing with like the weather report talking about how the weather patterns are being disrupted, and you see his mom, and it's just kind of like, oh my god, dude. They really want you to think he's dead. Now, personally, I'm not convinced he's dead until
Really?
Unless he has a funeral. I'm not convinced. I've seen too many shonen anime do this to me.
His heart like exploded.
Yeah. Like I said, until I see his funeral, I'm not totally convinced. But
Yeah, I'm with you. Regardless of whether or not he's really dead.
yeah,
the
I mean, they want you to
effect that
feel
it's
like
going
that.
to have the effect it's going to have on Midoriya, though.
Yeah,
is
when
going
he
to
sees
be-
him there.
Yeah, I also don't think he's dead until there's going to be a funeral. I think it would be really lame if they don't kill him at this point.
Yeah,
I
they
think
should.
it's-
They should.
Yeah, they should. He's my favorite character, and I think the story will be better off if he's dead. Not because I want him to be dead, but because if you're gonna kill a character, if you want there to be stakes in your story, don't kill your characters, just kill them. Like
Yeah.
what's the you can't have your cake and eat it too, or it's just gonna really kill the stakes in any story. But we'll see. Recovery Girl's just gonna kiss him, and he'll be all healed. It'll be all better.
They have mentioned that like Recovery Girl is not as like good as she was before, right? That was like a
Right.
thing that was mentioned. So hopefully this is like the real moment. I'm so jaded, unfortunately, but this it is a really good scene. It is an impactful moment. I'm just horribly jaded, unfortunately.
Yeah, it sucks that we have to have this like kind of thought process about My Hero, and it's maybe doing something really cool, but they've built up to like so much to just kind of throw it away. So they don't have the best track record as like what they're allowed to do. So we'll see if they commit to it. I hope they do. If they don't, then
Yeah, regardless
Whatever.
of my expectations, this chapter itself was fantastic.
Blue Box. So the Snow White play begins.
And also kind of ends. Obviously the place begins, but we get introduced to the crew working, and there's like a new character, Ayame, who's introduced. I don't know if she's going to be super important, but the panel that she's introduced in makes it seem like she's going to be a recurring character we need to keep our eyes on. So
Yeah, she's got like a unique design.
Yeah.
One that's like more detailed than anything we've seen. So
yeah, compared to like all the other side characters.
yeah, so she's definitely gonna be like maybe a third love interest. Now that the two are getting a little old and tired, we need to add a third one in here.
Maybe. I mean, so she seems to have like sort of a personality that's really like easygoing, and she's not into like the super deep heavy stuff, but I mean, I guess if she were to become a random third love interest, it's because I don't know, Taiki changes her. I don't know.
Aiki's so cool.
Yeah, but the play goes on. Taiki is a little he's not the best at what he's doing, but he's trying his best, and they finally get to the kiss scene.
But they rewrote it. They changed it up.
They did rewrite the story itself, yeah, from the
Yeah. They made it so that the prince wasn't just a stranger, which I guess is like, as a modern interpretation, makes sense. And then instead of doing a straight up kiss, she wakes up by herself and then is like, oh, well, they would kiss after. Maybe they don't have to kiss at all. Maybe that was the plan to avoid the kiss. Something crazy happens. A big like party pop ball falls from the ceiling randomly.
Yeah, the
It snaps.
Japanese on it kind of it says congratulations, so I guess that was supposed to be for something set up like way later, but the rope like snaps and it just it starts falling, and Taiki notices with his quick sports reactions, and he notices it's gonna fall on Hina, so he dives in to try and protect her, and lo and behold, what happens? They I've probably actually touched lips now.
It doesn't look like it to me. It
Yeah.
looks like they're slightly off.
The one
And
piece of confetti is there blocking the view.
well, they're not both blushing intensely like they both do, even when they're not kissing and about to. So who knows? Everyone seems to think that they did. And the chapter ends with Chinatsu being like, "Oh my god!" So this is so silly.
The drama, dude. It's gonna be some big drama now.
If that happened in real life, like if that happened during a normal school play, everyone would not be focused on like, did they just freaking kiss? Because the play they were doing was Snow White, where they're supposed to kiss anyway. So like you go in with that expectation. It would be, is one of them like gonna go to the hospital? Like what the heck just happened?
Yeah,
like that. That's just like everyone's like freaking out. I just think that's so funny that it's just like such a big deal to them.
Yeah, this specifically just the kiss. I mean, I guess in that moment, in that exact moment, they're kind of like, oh my gosh, they dodged the kiss scene. There's not gonna be a kiss. And it's like, wait. But regardless, they should be more concerned with Taiki's health.
Yeah, that's just so silly. I think they're going to say they didn't kiss. It's just my personal vote. They're not going to kiss. There, it's going to be, well, that was close, but everyone's going to think they did.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, yeah, it's good chapter though.
Yeah, I'm sure this will definitely set up some weird drama with Chinatsu because she seems to have a pretty powerful reaction to what she might have just thought she saw. So
just ask him out. He clearly likes you. What are you doing? Why are you?
But you don't. She doesn't know if Hina's a better fit for him or something like that. It's some, teenage whatever rom-com blah blah blah.
Okay. Whatever, dude. Whatever. I'm over it. One Piece.
First of all, cover page, Germans fighting Big Mom's people again.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how that results. But
I don't think they beat Katakuri like alone.
You think Katakuri could have fought all of them on his own?
I think 1v4 Katakuri wins. But maybe I just don't understand like how powerful the Germa are.
I mean, who knows how this will end up, but regardless.
A lot happens in this main chapter. First off, Raizo and Shinobu are like mummies now.
Yeah.
But after like healing, Shinobu is essentially Nami in body type.
Right. I mean, we've already like known that she kind of is supposed to look like this. So, but
well, like in her youth she did, but she's gotten old, and now she just kind of like basically rewinds to.
Well, it was like what was it like the ripe fruit or whatever? Is that the reason she like looked? Well, I mean, I guess all of the Wano people kind of age really strangely.
Kinemon gets back together with
Tsuru.
Yeah. Tsuru. Yeah. So they get back together. That's great. I mean, they were already kind of back together at like the fireworks festival that they had. We get some news that I really wasn't expecting, which is Carrot. She's not going to be a Straw Hat, which I never thought she was going to be personally, but she's in fact going to be the new ruler of Zou.
They've just appointed her, and the other two just want to stay in Wano, which is, I guess, fair. But
yeah, I mean that makes sense. But like,
Carrot.
I mean, Carrot's like competent clearly because she's been helping out since Whole Cake, but I never really thought that she was like the best they got.
Yeah,
but, I mean, they addressed that in the chapter. It's like, well, you'll have us to back you up, which I mean, okay.
I mean, you would think someone like Wanda might get appointed, right? Because she seems like she's responsible. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be Carrot, and Wanda's there to help out, I guess.
I mean, that's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing to just do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it's to assuage the whole, the Straw Hats, like joining the Straw Hats for Carrot, because I know that a lot of people were thinking that might happen. I was even somewhat convinced that, like oh, okay, that could happen. Like, it was pretty reasonable to think that it might be like Yamato and Carrot join at the same time or something like that. But I guess Oda wanted to give her a responsibility so that she can't just do that, because she has just kind of been floating with the crew for a while now. So it also gives them a connection to the Minx that is a little stronger. Like, we have high-ranking people in many places that are pro Straw Hats, so...
True. There's another little funny. So Kazuki guy, the grandfather, he reveals himself. Yeah, which I didn't think that was his plan. I didn't think he was going to reveal who he was to everyone. I thought his point was he just wanted to live quietly. But he does it anyway. He reveals himself, and all of the like all of the scabbards are like, yeah, we knew. Yeah. We were aware. We just thought we wanted to like let you choose your own, like what you wanted to do with your life. And Kennymon's just like, I had no idea, but he doesn't say that out loud. He's like, crap,
yeah, dude. I love this like little recurring joke that they're doing with him, where it's just like everyone's like, oh yeah, and then Kennymon's just in the back like, I had no clue that was going on.
The one that got me, the one that I think is the most funny, is the raid. When that was the symbol was given off, going to the right port. I think that was very funny.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Momonosuke and Hiyori have a grandfather, at least another surviving family member. The more interesting thing that has to do with the grandfather is that Pluton gets revealed to the rest of the Straw Hats, and Frankie's like, wait, that thing actually exists? He's like, I burned that up. And Luffy, I was surprised he remembered that Pluton existed, and Frankie was the one who burned the plans for it. Like, that's kind of uncharacteristic of Luffy being able to remember that far back.
A little bit, yeah. It is kind of strange, because he has been a person who's been known to just forget like other people, like on the journeys. I mean, I guess maybe you could say that it was more important to like Frankie joining that happened, because that's why like it was involved with one of his crewmates, maybe, that he'd remember better. But it is kind of strange that he'd remember a small detail.
But the fact that Pluton is now out there, they ask if Luffy wants it, and he just says, nah, I'm good, which is very Luffy, which is great. But what's his name? The swamp guy.
Karibo, right?
Karibo. The reason Karibo is here is to know the location of 2 ancient weapons. Now he knows that Pluton is on Wano. So
now he says that he has to let a certain someone know about this, right? But who is this certain someone? Because I don't think we know who he necessarily is working under, right?
Yeah, we have no clue. It was assumed to be like Caesar Clown and stuff. He's been around like since that, pretty much. I don't know. Maybe it's like some sort of world government thing. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, moving on. We get to Momonosuke. He wakes up and he's trying to find all the Straw Hats. He still wants all of them to be there. And so he expects, to find Zoro training so that he can train with Zoro. And he realizes he's not there. So he just tries to look for everyone, even Yamato, and he just can't find any of them.
And it turns out they just left without saying goodbye, which is fairly uncharacteristic.
So my thought is that they heard that either Law or Kid was trying to get the move on, and Luffy was like, they can't leave before us, and so he just rushed out, is what I'm thinking is what happened.
Maybe that's probably what they might say in universe, but I think it's because Oda wants them to be sent off with a big dragon in the background. Like that in like a meta reason why they didn't say goodbye, so Momonosuke can race out to them and say goodbye like that. Sort of like a VV, but they're not trying to come with. It's just my own thought process there. But speaking of Luffy wanting to leave with Law and Kid, 3 of them are all bickering on which one gets to leave in which direction. Law picks northeast, which is the most direct path, and Kid and Luffy fight for the east path, which is the second closest path.
It's they're arguing for the middle one. They just want to take. They both want to take the middle path.
They end up drawing straws, and it turns out, Luffy's going with the longer path, the southeast path, which I'm sure is probably going to be the best path because that's who we're following, but you know.
I don't know about the best path, but I think it might set something up later where Law and Kid are introduced to a scenario that the Straw Hats will have to hear about, and then, they're able to recognize some sort of big threat that might come up because, oh my gosh, Law and Kid couldn't handle this. How do we, handle this ourselves when we get there? So I'd imagine something like that might come up.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. But if we turn the page, we get something way more important and way more interesting than any of that. Buggy and Crocodile and Mihawk have started the Cross Guild, which is incredibly hilarious.
Now,
the fact that
the way
Buggy is together with Crocodile and Mihawk is just, you would never expect either of them to want to work with Buggy, and that's what makes this hilarious.
So I think your language is coping a little bit right now. I think it's pretty clear that Mihawk and Crocodile are working under Buggy.
I agree. I completely agree. However, the term guild makes me think it's a little less of a pirate crew.
It's not a pirate crew, but Buggy's logo is the one that's in the center.
Yes, he is seemingly the face of it. And I just wonder if that's strategic on Mihawk and Crocodile's part.
I would imagine it likely is, right?
Because I don't think they would work under him for, we respect you and we want to be your underlings. That's just the only reason I say that. Because both of them are fairly well aware that Buggy is kind of a hack.
Yeah, Mihawk has fought him. Crocodile was there, bitten Impel down when they were breaking out. And so these are the two characters who really have knowledge that Buggy is not all the world government views him as.
But they're doing something very interesting, which I'm a big fan of. They are currently putting out bounties for Marines.
Really awesome system, I think.
That is sick. That is really cool.
Yeah.
I think ever since Dressrosa, where Doflamingo put out bounties for like a game for everyone there, I think that was something that needed to happen from like a bigger perspective. I always thought that the two emperors, Big Mom and Kaido, would put out bounties like that. I thought that would be like what those guys did, but it was Buggy, the genius. And so, that's really cool. I wonder if we'll start seeing that begin to take place. Like Law or Kid will start going after bounties, because I really can't imagine Luffy being like, yeah, no, I want to hunt down Marines for money. Doesn't sound like his style at all.
I definitely agree there. I do really wonder if this will give us some sort of way to compare the pirate bounties to the marine bounties. I don't know if there's going to be a certain berry reward that is going to come up for the Marines, but the power scaling in One Piece is not directly tied to the bounties. They're just sort of a pseudo indicator for letting us know kind of how strong or how threatening certain characters are. And so I want to see, is there a parallel for the Marines that can come up that we can kind of use the gauge? Because that would be really cool to see, I think.
I think we've got a pretty good idea of like how the Marines are kind of viewed, because they have their own structure of power.
Yep.
You can kind of imagine that like the higher up someone is, the stronger someone is. But yeah, it would be better to get some sort of clarification on like how the pirates view them as threats.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, that would be pretty neat.
But there's also a little bit of mention that Kid makes later, because Law gives a copy of the poneglyphs to Kid because he's like, you've earned these, take them. And Kid's crew already snagged poneglyph copies from a Big Mom general. This I found a little strange. I don't know why some general would have the copy of the poneglyphs just on them, but I guess that's kind of how they got them.
Maybe when they first got the poneglyph, before they took it back, they got a copy to bring back to Big Mom or something like that. Not sure.
Yeah, it's like not impossible just seems a little strange. But regardless of that, there is a reference to finding the man with the burn scar that Killer kind of alludes to Kid. Luffy's like, burn scars? Who are you talking about? And it seems like that there's a little bit of like mystery going on with who that is. They noted that they showed Law and Robin, so I almost wonder if it's someone that has some sort of relationship to them, but I'm not 100% sure as to who this could be.
I just thought that was Shanks. I don't know.
Well, he kind of has like a slash scar. I wouldn't say that's a burn scar. I mean, the only like people who have fire-ish powers that we even know of that could like inflict a burn scar. I mean, Sabo. I don't know if it's someone Sabo fought. Akainu. Is it Aokiji? Could it be? Is the person that we're finding Aokiji? Is that the guy with the burn scar?
I don't know. I think it's probably too early to tell on that one.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen his post-time skip design. I don't remember him having a burn that we could see. It really could be anyone, realistically, right? It could be someone we just don't even know about, but pretty interesting. And chapter ends off with Yamato declaring he's gonna live like Kozuki Oda and join the Straw Hats.
Yep.
So just get to it. You've been saying this for 3 chapters. Get to it.
Jump on the boat. They're about to leave. I don't know. Like, come on. That's so officially a member, unless they really drag it out and it's like, ooh, it took too long. They left.
Yeah, I mean, Momonosuke and Kinemon, they both hear Yamato's voice, which implies that Yamato also doesn't realize that the Straw Hats are leaving, right?
It's fine.
I'm sure she'll ride on Momonosuke's back as they're on sea, and Yamato will just jump off onto the ship. So
probably next chapter.
Yep.
Maybe, hopefully. We have a week break, so
yep.
We'll see it again soon.
Blue Exorcist. So we start off getting Shiemi, who is now back out of her hyperbolic time chamber. It's been, I think, 2 years for her since she started the training. She's aged, I think, about 2 years or so. But for the real life time, it's been about 19 hours. But she's probably going to make some big waves in the fight coming up, because she is probably pretty impressive right now.
More than likely going to stomp some heads, do some cool plant attacks. I wonder what her little, like, cabbage demon thing is going to look like, if it's going to be any different.
Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting to see. So we can definitely expect her in the upcoming chapters to show up and cause some mayhem in the battlefield. But other than that, it's Satan is lifting the ground, rocks are flying. Yukio and the crew, they kind of are trying to get a good shot in. So Nahouse shows up with the gun, and Yukio is being a little aggressive, He flips him to take the gun, and Nahouse kind of says, "No, it's fine. You can take the shot. That's how I was intending for it to go anyway." Yukio's like, "What?" And so I do like how in this whole arc they have these little interactions where Yukio has with all the other characters, in which it's understood now that they have his trust and he's not used to it.
Pretty cute.
Yeah.
I like it. They can't get a clear shot. Rin is still fighting Satan. Whoa. It's freaking sliced up. We learn that he refers to Rin's mom as that woman.
Oh yeah.
Which it like calls her disgusting because she was human, and so he like rips Rin apart and like leaves him lying down there. But through the power of brotherly friendship, Rin lights up and he reforms and he's ready to fight Satan. I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. I do like his old bit about it's okay for me and for other human beings to just live. It's good enough to just be alive. It's a nice message.
Yeah, that is a nice message. I like it.
I was under the impression, for me, that I was feeling like they were going to lose this fight against Satan, but every progressing chapter, I almost feel like this is maybe the final fight. I almost wonder, like, are they able to actually beat him right now.
It seems like it. It seems like this might be it.
Yeah, that's kind of how at first I thought to myself, there's no way. They can't fight. Yukio and Rin, they just fought each other. I feel like Rin is not that strong, but they have Chiemi coming out the hyperbolic time chamber. Rin is doing like this power up thing. They have like a gun. And
they have a gun.
And so I just wonder, like, I don't know, like, maybe this is the end, in which case I don't think I'm ready.
Yeah, no, this is definitely is a bit unexpected for it to end. However, I think it'll be satisfying nonetheless. This author knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We just gotta trust them.
I guess at least in the character sense, everyone's story arcs are pretty much wrapped up, right? And so I guess I would prefer the series to end here than to drag on and do nothing, right? So I guess if it had to, I just have to come to terms with it, because I definitely am very attached to this series, but if it's going to end on a high note, it ends on a high note.
Dandadan.
I was right. What can I say?
You were actually wrong.
What do you mean?
It's a giant Buddha statue, bro. That's not a...
It's a mech. Look at its hands. It's like robotic.
It's not exactly what you or our,
they have
our friend
cockpits.
Visualized. It's not exactly what you or him visualized in the story. However,
well, that's his fault. Right. It's not my fault. It's his fault for being bad at imagining things.
Well, we got a giant Buddha statue mech about to fight Godzilla. I think that's cool.
I mean, it can't really... So this chapter was pretty, I would say, uneventful. It's basically just them recognizing, oh, the blocks can do this. Okarun tries. He can't because everything's waving up. His imagination's not good enough to, like, have a defined image of how to create a giant robot to fight the guy. So the nerdy guy has to do it because he's a nerd. So, of course, he has a clearer image of how to do this, I guess.
Right. But it turns out that Momo actually is the one who visualized this halfway through. Like, he imagined robot. She was like, giant robot. And that's why it became a Buddha, because that's what you just imagined, like a giant statue. You know, I think it might have impacted us not that crazy good because we predicted it. So, you know, it's just kind of like making a big deal about something we both saw clearly in our minds. But it was a good chapter nonetheless, just nothing really wowed us.
Yeah, it's fine. They just don't know how to pilot it right now, I guess. So it's just standing there doing nothing, which is, it's fine, I suppose. We'll just find out how they do that next time. Very short feeling chapter.
And speaking of calling something and short feeling, the Mashle chapter this week was, I think, very whatever.
I thought it was like pretty good for like what it was personally. I actually didn't hate it.
I just knew that this was coming.
Yeah, I mean,
we learned to work together.
It was
fine.
It was an extremely, I guess, generic type of chapter, right? It's just nice to see the other side of Rain and be like, I just wanted to protect you, blah blah blah. Which, I mean, it's fine. I think it's like executed like pretty all right. The timing and the flow, pacing of the chapter, I think was like perfectly acceptable. I think it was good. I mean, regardless, it's obviously nothing special, right? But it is well done. Like the art, I think, is great too. So,
Akane Banashi, a little bit more of the Jugum story, but what I really liked about this part of the chapter is really cutting back to everyone else and them commenting on it. Like the long hair, new age Rokugo guys, like, I'm better than her. I'm funnier than her. Why do I feel like this is going way too well? Why do I feel like she's superior? And they comment like, a lot of people think that getting more laughs or standing out is what makes you a better performer, but the better performers just blend in. And as we know, she seems to be disappearing from the stage according to the audience and stuff. So one of the masters realizes that she must be being trained by Arakawa, which, I mean, she is. So the jig is kind of up on that front.
Yeah, I think that it's really cool how they make the distinction between the people who stand out, because for those individuals, the performance is so focused on the people that the Rakugo artists are trying to be, you know, it's focusing on their talents, like, oh, this person. But the way Akane is doing it is it envelops them in the world that they're portraying, you know? It's not about the person doing the Rakugo. The Rakugo is about the story. And the better that the artist can paint that story so that you don't focus on the artist, you're focusing on the storytelling. That is the mark of a true pro. It's just really cool because you see the flashback of why Akane's Rakugo master wants her to do this story, and it's for exactly that reason, right? It's something so simple. The story is so simple that it's something that she has to find the depth in the story in order to make it interesting. The story itself won't save her. She has to make the story cool.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, she's succeeding in that front too. So I have no doubt that they're probably going to think that she's the best, but honestly, they might disqualify her from this competition
for being too good.
I think, well, if they know that she's professionally trained, this is for amateur Rakugo guys. So she might not be officially under the training, but she's clearly getting help from a professional. That's, I mean, I don't really know the rules, I guess, but that's, I don't know, I think that's a possibility.
I mean,
they might say, you did great, you're the best here, but you can't have the prize because it's unfair.
Maybe. I mean, maybe I don't really see what the ruling would be. So I would imagine it's not just they're gonna retroactively be like, yeah, no, this doesn't feel right, you can't win. I feel like there should be a rule, and I think it's just you're not a pro, which technically she's not. So I don't know why they would, but we do kind of get the sense that something might be a little bit up because we can't see Isho's reaction in the very, very end of the chapter, right? We sort of see like a little bit of like a little bit of his expression. It's kind of ambiguous to me if it's like just him being stunned. Maybe he's cracking a smile. Maybe I can see that a little bit. Unsure, but he probably thinks that this is really good. And I think the audience thinks this is probably really good. And I think if it's based on that, maybe our $1 bet will
it'll just be void, probably.
We'll be both wrong. Everyone loved it.
Yeah, probably not going to be getting paid out on this bet, but that's fine. It was $1.
I mean,
so
we got our dollars worth of entertainment from the series itself, right? So
true.
Not worry about it.
Yeah, no, this stuff is really good. I'm really excited to see the end of her performance. I want to see what they think on like a
professional
actual judging, professional judging scale. So we'll wait and see.
Definitely going to be really interesting.
Kaiju number 8's chapter this week felt like a bunch of SCPs appearing, and I'm super down for it. It just felt like, honestly, kind of horror-esque. Like, the one that appeared in the scramble was terrifying looking to me. Like, that would freak me out. I mean, all of these would freak me out. I wouldn't be able to survive any of them. But the one that just appears floating and doing nothing, just surveying the area for 3 minutes and then disappearing, like, that's horrifying to me. That's just on a primal level a fear that I just... The one that sprints past, doesn't harm anyone. Like, what the?
Yeah,
what the heck is that?
In the intersection,
the hole in the oil tanks that just it gets in, sucks them dry, and then leaves. Like, what is that? That's crazy. I don't know. I think that this is like what this series needed, was like terrifying monsters and threats to like deal with. You know, like known threats, not just like there's a sudden kaiju, let's go fight it. Like, I don't know, this is cool. I think this is awesome.
Definitely really nice. Definitely a really big way to jumpstart the arc that we're starting right now. Pretty cool.
For the main female character's father, who got captured by Kaiju number 9 or 10, I forget which one, he's losing consciousness. He's still awake inside there, but he's losing consciousness, and he's kind of leaving the future to this next generation, which, I mean, yeah, alright. But she's going to actually put on Numbers Weapon 4, which was the one her mother used. So she's going to carry on her legacy. So now all of the main characters are going to have super duper powers.
Yeah, there's been a huge string of power-ups, I think, coming up for a lot of the characters. And by a lot of them, obviously, I just mean Shinomiya and Ichikawa. So, but, I mean, they gotta catch up to Kafka, right? Who is trying to learn to fight more like a human, which, ironically, you could almost say he's trying to, I guess, power down himself to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But in search of trying to, fight like a person.
Gain control.
Yeah, gain control, exactly. So definitely a really cool chapter to kind of start us up into whatever intersection of Kaiju number 8 the series is bringing us toward.
Yeah. For the first time in a little bit, I was super into this chapter. Glad that they decided to go with this like kind of horror-esque entry.
Yeah, really bombastic way to enter. Like everything's like going on.
Spy Family. Bro.
I think this chapter is awesome.
Yeah, this was so sick. The last chapter ended with Melinda Desmond revealing herself to Yor. I was just like, what the heck is gonna happen? But they, it seems she wants to be friends. Seems to be a little standoffish.
She has a few moments in this chapter where her reaction suddenly shifts to something really kind of terrifying in some ways and a little disturbing in some others. So
yeah, the one where Yor keeps trying to apologize and she said, "I said it's fine, Yor. I don't really care about it." And her face is all like really serious. Like that's some freaky stuff. I don't know about that. But once they're being driven home, when they're talking about their children being friends, even though Anya punched them on the first day, it seems like she's like shivering a bit, and she says, "I do hope they can stay friends." And she looks like she's either choking out a smile and trying to be polite, or my theory is she's like really into like the possible young romance kind of thing. My friend thinks that one of my friends thinks that she's gonna be like, she's super snobbish and doesn't want her son to be friends with Anya. I don't think she gives a damn about that. I think she's like, ooh, young love. So
yeah, I was thinking both of those ideas in my mind. I also, because I was looking at her expression and she's either terrified and holding it back, or she's extremely, I guess, aroused at the idea and holding it back. She's holding something back, right? Like extremely difficulty. She's literally shaking and sweating.
Let's hope it's not arousal. Let's just hope it's excitement.
Right. I mean, it was hard to find the word, right? It's hard to find the correct word because her expression is a little scary. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, that all kind of culminates in a way that I didn't expect it to go. Her telling Lloyd that she met Melinda Desmond and Lloyd being like really suspicious of it, which I guess would make sense if like things just kind of fall into your lap like this. Like, but Anya covers for her and says, "Oh, you wouldn't have gone there if it wasn't for me." And Lloyd's like, "All right, well, I can't rule out it's not a Desmond attack. Like, it's not an attack from them." He ends up going with it, and he thinks it's a good idea for Yor to get out there. And she seems to be really into Lloyd at this point, like happy that he cares about her so much and wants her to do her own thing. And then Anya is like, "Wait, there's two plans now. There's the friendship scheme and the friendship scheme between both moms."
Yeah.
So she's like, it's a battle between who can become friends first.
That panel is hilarious, by the way, where Damien and Melinda are just, she can't imagine their faces well enough. It's so funny.
So they just look derpy. It's great.
Yep.
But Yor wants to check if she can have friends with her handler. And the handler thinks it's a good idea, like, to be friends, but if, you might not want to get too attached because this person is fairly conservative, and I guess that is the opposite of who she assassinates for. Not entirely sure. I guess that's not who she usually assassinates or is working for the assassinations. Not entirely sure how her system works at all, really. When she brought up that her husband, Lloyd, was pretty interested in his national unity thing, whatever, the handler just says, "Did he now?" Uh-oh. Are we gonna get some sort of conflict for once between Yor and Lloyd?
It
Who
might. I mean,
knows?
so at first he was kind of saying the political thing might be a little weird because Melinda Desmond is she's a very politically charged figure, right? Because she did have a high ranking place in the government at some point, and so like prime minister or something of the sort. She was like some high ranking political figure, right? And so there's like some inherent controversy because there's kind of like a war kind of going on right now. So
Right.
I guess maybe there is concern for that. But the fact that Lloyd is interested in this funny political party definitely means that he has a side. Or at least
Yeah.
it
Well,
implies that there is some sort of side going on here. Because you don't just look at some extremely controversial figure and be like, not much of an opinion. Seems like an alright person, you know?
well, she checked with her handler a while back to see if they could have this fake relationship. So aside from Frankie, the handler is the only outside party who really knows this is a sham, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he might be connecting the dots that Lloyd might be Twilight.
Right, exactly.
Because yeah, so this is this is going to be interesting. I definitely think this is going to be something we need to keep an eye on. Anya's at school, worried about the plan. She wants to beat her mom. And so Becky tries to give her advice where she puts bread in her mouth and bumps into the boy. It's like a trope. And so she's like, okay, I'll do that. No biggie. So she puts a bread in her mouth and tries to sprint that Damien, and he just effortlessly dodges her. He makes fun of her, and then she gets mad and she spits the whole thing onto his head. And we see a little chart. They're arguing. We see a little Yor and Melinda's friendship +10. Anya and Damien's friendship -100. So it's not looking too good on that front, Anya.
Yeah.
Still, I think a fantastic chapter.
I think one of the funniest parts of the chapter, just in general, like throughout the whole conversation between Yor and Lloyd trying to discuss who exactly Melinda is being the first woman, it it's so funny because she can't understand exactly like what it means. It's really funny to me because she's only become friends with Melinda because she keeps a very tight circle of friends because of the fact that she like has no idea who she really is, and even when they explain it to her, she doesn't really have a full grasp of who exactly she is. And so I think that definitely makes the whole interaction extremely, it's funny because of the dramatic irony here, but it's also really, really useful for the story because it's the only way that she could become her friend is by being so oblivious.
It's true. We talked about it before. Yor's probably the dumbest person in the series, and I think it's really on show this chapter.
Yeah,
just
like
how socially inept she is.
like sure there's like Anya being quote unquote dumb, like she had to say something like, well, this sure excavated quickly. She means escalated. She's too much of a child to know that vocabulary, right? She's ignorant, but she can connect dots. You know, she knew to cover for Yor in that moment, right? She can process things in her brain well. Yor, I'm not 100% sure she can do it like that. She might be less ignorant than Anya, who is a literal child, but I'm not sure if her ability to take in information and come to good conclusions is the best.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Aliens area. I've got a question for you, Bobby.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what anything meant in this chapter? I just like, not that it was like it's like, oh, we have sword and gun. I'm talking about like why they limited them to those two, and then also you just could just pick whatever you wanted. They kept saying over and over again, pick one of these two, and then at the end of the chapter he chooses the lens. I don't know.
So I mean, my understanding of what that was they were saying So the sword and the gun are really good beginner options. So you should pick one of those two. Technically, you can pick anything that we have, but since you don't know what you're doing, you should pick the sword or the gun because they're the most straightforward, is what I got out of that. Because based on what we see, because they show the gravity power. Like, yeah, you can pick the gravity power thing, but that requires a lot of training, you know? The accessibility of it is not that good. Like, Shiraku can use the gravity thing because, you know, he has had the time or the talent or the experience or somewhat to use that in a combat sense, you know? So what I understood it as was there are options that are useful, but they're difficult to make use of. So just take the sword or the gun is what I understood.
I see. Because at the end he says, anyway, with only 2 options, there isn't much to go on. So, like, I just assumed that meant, oh, they're limiting them to the sword and the gun this chapter, and then he's like, I'll take this.
Right. I mean, I just assume that he is... I would guess that he just assumes that, you know, they're not competent enough to pick the other thing.
Maybe I'm not competent enough to understand, but it seemed a little, like, just bizarre.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't the most elegantly presented idea, but I do think that they made a solid attempt to try and show what exactly they were getting at.
How do you feel about the child girl character?
I think she's, like, funny and quirky. I don't know. I mean, she's just, like, obsessed with Shiraku or something, right? Like, that's her bit.
Yeah, that's her bit.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's nice that they show us 2 new characters and they, like, characterize them. Like, do I care about them yet? Not really, but there's enough, like, time and, you know, stuff shown for us to get at least a good sense of what these people are like. So her and the other guy, I think but we actually end up seeing that they're the ones who have to help Tatsumi figure out what's his weapon gonna be, right? And so the one guy was just like, oh, well, you already have kendo experience from high school, right? So you're gonna be like a sword guy like me, right? Like, I guess he's kind of excited there's gonna be like a new sword guy.
He can't be a sword guy, he has arm power.
Yeah, exactly. And which is so Tatsumi ends up picking the contact lens, which from what they showed us, it has a bunch of funny, like, camera techniques types of thing. Like, he can see, like, a thermal scan or night vision, or he can trace whether or not you're an earthling or an alien, which is the one he picks. So,
and honestly, like, I think it's, like, the best one by far.
You think so?
There's, like, nothing better in like a battle / like war fight scenario than, like, information. Like, if you can see stuff going on, like, if it becomes just pitch black and you can still see, you have the clear advantage. Like, you can use more weapons, you can use more gear. So just, like, I would always take this as, like, a base and then pick the other stuff too, like, around it, you know? Like, and you probably can't pick more here, but I think that this should be a staple for pretty much everyone. I don't understand why it's like, this one's kind of useful. Like, what do you mean? This one's, like, the best one.
I know that before they said that you can only pick, like, 3 things, right? Mm-hmm. And so I guess if it's, like, if you have 3 utility, like, tools or whatever, you can't actually fight. You just know what's going on, right? So I guess in some sense, Tatsumi already has a weapon because he has the
implant.
He has, like, the implant, like, the arm to fight with. So I guess for him, he's just thinking to myself, I don't need a sword or a gun. I have this, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the limitations that they've given us were kind of just, like, blurted out into our faces during the middle of that, like, last fight that happened.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, the little, like, strategery that, like, is going on, I kind of have to wonder to what degree are they considering that, but obviously they don't overtly show us.
Undead Unluck. We get some, like, backstory on how the arc works.
I mean,
if you're the one who goes back, you stop aging, which is a little OP. But it's kind of necessary because it sends you back in time to, like, a jillion years ago.
Yeah, so we get some backstory with Unjustice Chui's with Victor. I found it really funny when he was like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in 4.4 billion years."
Yeah, keeping perfect track.
Yeah.
But they, explain that undead will survive, which was a fact that was told to us, but we, I guess, both forgot because we were like, oh, like who's gonna go back? Like it clearly has to be Fuko because Andy's gonna survive it anyway. So, um, that was told to us a long time ago. We just both kind of seemingly forgot. But Fuko talks about how she wants to be in the next loop with everyone. And it turns out that the memory chip in his freaking brain isn't the artifact Remember. And it can save things.
Well, so the idea, I think what's going on, right, is that the Remember, because what Fuko is saying, what she wants, right, is she wants the world to be a more fair place, right? She wants it so that there are consequences, but there are also opportunities for happiness. She wants accountability, right? She doesn't want, I think the idea that she's trying to get at is she doesn't want to say, let's blame God for our problems. I don't think she wants a world where people can just blame God. She doesn't want a world where people can just blame things that they have no control over. She wants to have control and accountability, right? But at the same time, she doesn't want to abandon the world that she lives in right now, because it's that unfair world that gave her all the people that she's learned to love throughout the whole series. And so she basically is in this position where she can't have her cake and eat it too, but the Remember artifact is going to at least let her keep the memories of all of those people, is what I'm assuming they're getting at with the Remember artifact. And so I personally think it's really cool, because I like when they take small things in series, they keep them throughout the whole time, the little card in Andy's head, and it turns out to be this super key thing to saving everything here, right?
Super integral.
Right, because now she can, I guess, remember everything.
But I just wonder if they take it out to use it, is it going to be Victor again?
I think it will be, right? That's kind of what they were alluding to.
I guess if Victor's our main character from here on out, we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, if Fuko's able to take the card, go back, and then give the card to Victor, does he get the Andy memories that we have in this universe?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I guess I'll explain it more deeply next chapter, but I can only assume it's something similar to that idea. Yeah, I really I like the explanations here. I think Fuko's personal dilemma and trying to recognize, that she has what she has. Like, she started to enjoy and love life because of the people around her, and she's only been able to meet those people around her because of the awful circumstances of the world that they live in. And I think it's cool that she's able to appreciate that fact, but also recognize that there's a better world that they could be living in.
Sakamoto Days.
The Invisible Guy's brother and the one crazy fangirl from the island we see where they ended up, I guess. They're in the hideout of, like, supposedly the bad guys.
The deer head guy, did we know what he looked like under his mask until now?
I can't recall personally, so I'm going to assume this is like a reveal.
Kind of sad. Like this deer head design, but they put bombs in them. They're gonna explode if they try to escape, and the girl is now a fangirl of Pretty Boy.
It was the guy they were like peeping on, right, through that doorway. I
guess they're gonna be trapped here for a while, and now the plan is to save them.
I do think it's a little weird for the deer guy to reveal himself, because he's kind of seen as like the more serious figure. And so now that he's unmasked, there's that scene, the masked guy he crushed a cockroach by accident, and he's like, oh, disgusting, because he's a germaphobe, But then that guy was like, he was just ended up being a goober, and he was like, what the heck, how could you do that? If you were gonna kill it, destroy it completely. And it's just like, okay, this guy's a goon. So just kind of became an absolute freak. Yeah,
so
it's a little bit of whiplash to be like, this is the reveal, and it's like, oh, he's also a goober. This is, I don't know, like it's a little strange. none of the characters that I particularly like love are in this chapter, so it's hard for me to be like super attached to what's going on. It kind of just feels like stuff's happening just to happen.
One Punch Man.
This chapter was 80 pages.
It was. I didn't realize it was because I was having such a great time.
Yeah, I mean, the panels are gigantic. The action flows extremely fluidly. So, One Punch Man chapters are always long, but they always go by a lot faster than they appear by the page number.
Their fight ends. Garo and Saitama's fight ends. Saitama just obliterating him. There's a chart in the chapter where he's like, I'm copying him perfectly, so why am I not able to beat him? And the reason why they were able to be so close in strength for a while is because Saitama's never had anyone even be remotely close, so he's never had to better himself. And now that somebody's reaching his peak, so he just started exponentially growing to get farther away. Now that he has someone to go up against, he can actually, grow again. And so now he's just becoming inhumanly strong, even more so than he was.
Yeah, like his sneeze like destroys the gas layer around Jupiter.
His fart shot him from like the sun to Earth in like half a second.
Yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous like how strong he is. Beyond all of that though, right? He punches him down, he punches Garo back down to Earth. He sees the kid and Garo starts to run away because it's just kind of like he feels so much remorse for like him because he's knocked out, maybe he's quote unquote dead or something, but Garo just feels so much remorse. He just starts running and he trips, he's snoveling, dribbling, and so it's just like he just feels like, I guess he's just a bad guy who's like irredeemable or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he just wants to kind of die, right? But Saitama won't even kill him because he's not a quote-unquote good hero.
He wants to give Saitama the power that he received without the curse, like, kind of being controlled behind it. So he's like, you're really good at, like, just grasping things very quickly. So here, like, just copy as I do. He successfully copies, but while he's trying to teach him, the god tries to take back the power, and he kills Garo. Saitama, even though that happens, he successfully like copies the ability and actually gets sent back in time to before that fight happened. He's able to get there before he kills everyone, and he just punches the crap out of Garo and ends the fight before it even started. And so instead of one punch, it was zero punch.
It was the punch that happened before the punch.
They won, and then he combines with his previous past self.
I'm not gonna lie, I got really confused. I don't really think I understand exactly what happened.
Well, he traveled back in time, but he still existed back in time. And they both can't exist by themselves. There can't be two Saitamas. So they just combined to one Saitama. Now, does this combined Saitama remember the events of the future? Don't know. That's to be explained. But anyway, he still has the core from Genos. But Genos is still alive. So he's just like in an alternate universe now. Everything's kind of status quo reset, I guess.
See, I found it really strange because I understand the whole like, oh, he got reset to the past, and as we know, the series kind of retconned itself before the fight also, and so it's kind of funny now. It's like there's like an in-universe retcon in some sort of way, but
True.
It's not a retcon because it's just kind of flowing the flow of the story. But it's the same idea of like they're going back to fix something that shouldn't have happened. But
yeah.
Honestly, I gotta say, confusion, no confusion. I don't know if I like the way that this story has gone, to be honest. It feels really random. Like, I don't know. They go through the whole Saitama's just getting more and more powerful, and then Garo just teaches him a technique, and it spurs Saitama going to the past. I don't know, like, I know that the series is not like super duper serious all the time. There's a lot of comedy, even like in this chapter. I just don't see the point.
I'm kind of just like here for the ride. I didn't really have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I thought it was all right. I definitely can see how somebody might be like taken out of it though, with just kind of resetting everything.
Yeah, I just personally don't really understand like why. I mean, I guess it's because they don't want the kid to be dead, I guess. Like they want Garo to like have some sort of chance to not do all the bad things he did, but I don't know. I didn't really get a solid impression of like what they're
apparently
achieving.
the webcomic is different, like significantly. Like the webcomic's ending is different. Might have to check it out now, but that might be something we're experiencing. Like this is not the ending that was originally intended. So
Gotcha.
who knows?
Yeah, I was not aware of that. It just the way that the story was going just felt very strange to me. Like I was okay with the initial retcon of like, oh, I guess things are different now, you know, and I just kind of accepted it back then. I was like, okay, but at this point, I'm just kind of like, where did this come from?
Maybe the original webcomic has that scene originally retconned.
Yeah, maybe like talking around the table. That might be definitely something worth checking out if this doesn't end the way that I feel in a way that I feel like is acceptable. Because right now it's kind of strange to me.
Black Clover, the Wizard King's a bad guy, like info dump, and Asta's gonna save him.
Yeah, I mean, so he like showed up. He froze time, right? He froze time for everyone, but Asta having no magic, he's immune, anti-magic, you know, so he's just immune to the time freeze. And so they have a conversation about like, oh yeah, you are the problem with the universe. He like calls Asta a flaw because the idea is that everyone is supposed to have magic, or you're supposed to be some sort of demon or something like that. And if you're neither human nor demon, you don't really have like magic like that, you need to be gotten rid of.
I just think it's really funny that Asta is like in universe. Everyone's like, this guy kind of sucks because he doesn't have magic. But in a world of wizards, the strongest thing would be anti-wizard. Like I don't understand. He's able to counter literally everything they throw at him. I just don't understand why they don't take him seriously. They call him just like a flaw, and everyone's like, you're disgusting, you don't know any magic. Like he's clearly able to counter everything you do. Literally everyone who has magic, he's able to just stop it because he has anti-magic. I don't know. It's kind of like, I've never seen it, but Fairy Tail, you've told me that one of the characters has anti-magic armor or something like that.
It's one of the worst plot devices that series had ever come up with.
Right. Like, why wouldn't that be like the main thing that character uses forever in the world of wizards? Just like in this one.
So like in Fairy Tail, it's magic armor that is anti-magic, and it's used by a character like one time. It makes no sense, and it's ridiculously overpowered. It's just random. Like the character has like an arsenal of different armors that are powered in different ways, and like they give her different advantages, and it's just like, how did this happen? In Black Clover, I think the idea is that their entire basis for how they judge people, and this is more pertaining to, I guess, the beginning of the series is where it's more clear. If you have no magic, like, what are you? You know, you're just a weirdo basically to them, and so they just assume, well, if we judge based on magic,
but like at this point, he's proven himself.
Well, I think that most people have kind of understand that, right? Because the last people who were really taken aback by that were the demons, who like just didn't really interact with him. And so I mean, the whole series is kind of people underestimating Asta over and over again until he proves them wrong. So
it's still good. I just think it's really funny that like even on the final arc, we still got somebody being like, "Yeah, no, you suck."
Well, I don't think he's looking down on Asta. I think he looks at Asta and he thinks, "You're an abomination. You shouldn't exist." You know, I think it's a lot more idealistic than underestimating him.
Super smartphone. Mora turns in his smartphone. and it goes bye-bye forever.
Yeah.
The police, he talks to the police and he's like, yeah, no, this can search the world. It's super duper cool. It's how I committed all these crimes. Anyway, check it out. And it disappears. And that kind of proves that it's not of this kind of understanding of technology. It's not just like a random phone. You know, seemingly now we'll understand what they're dealing with, and Q is just kind of, you know, sitting alone talking, and he gets friend requests, or he finds the friend messaging system, and there seems to be only 12 smartphone users, at least as of now. I guess we kind of have a grasp on.
Yeah, there's a distinct number of people that have smartphones that we now know the number total is 12, technically 11 now because Mora's smartphone is destroyed.
But it might go to another person. There might always be 12.
Yeah,
you know?
if it relights up, we'll definitely see that happen. But there are a lot of other questions. It almost leads me to think maybe that won't happen because there's a lot revealed, I think, kind of, or at least tickled at. The ideas are tickled at. But I know that Q has kind of a question somewhere in the chapter where he is wondering, why does it seem like there's a pattern that people that die or go missing are very close to the super smartphone users? Because Mora talked about his sister, I think it was, and Q has his brother. I have a weird theory connecting random dots. I don't know. This is just a spitball throw in the dark. The smartphones kind of seem like they have more of a personality than what we might expect, and so I almost wonder, are people's like consciousness, or maybe there's an AI based on the personalities of these people who have gone missing, have they like been experimented on, and like their quote unquote soul or something is actually the voice that is being projected from the smartphones? Kind of a random idea, but I'm just trying to connect dots because it seems like it's feeding us information that is probably going to be relevant. I don't know where the red herrings are. I could be off, but definitely.
I mean, that's definitely possible. That what you're saying is definitely something I could see them going with.
Yeah.
But I remember Q's brother being a little bit more bubbly. Q's phone is a little bit more serious and standoffish. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's been 7, I don't remember the number. It's been like a bunch of years. But you know, it's a thought. I don't know if it's going to be based on that person. It could be something else completely. So in the moments where Mora's super smartphone is about to go away, it says, "I'm going to miss you too," and then the text starts getting weird, but it says, "Pretty weird for an AI, don't you think?" And I was like, that is pretty weird, isn't it? But
you're right. That is weird.
and so I don't know, man. Like, I'm starting to think maybe they're not just AI. Maybe they're actually supposed to be based on people. But regardless, obviously we know we've done a little bit of a narrowing down. We know that there's 12 super smartphone users that are left because Mora's is now defunct. And we know that Zenichiro should be one of the 4 remaining people. And there's a hidden locked feature that won't unlock until all of the super smartphone users have unlocked the BakuGOES SNS feature, which I guess is leading into the motivation for Zenichiro to have control over all of the people, because I guess maybe he wants this feature to be unlocked. We're not too sure as to what it does, though.
Doron Dororon. We get a new character who might have showed up before, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I was wondering if we had seen him, and I just didn't really recognize him before either. But
yeah,
I don't know. A lot of action. I don't particularly care. It didn't really like particularly impress me either. There's like, it has a unique art style, I guess, Doron Dororon, but I don't know. I'm not super shocked at what's going on.
it's definitely not that impressive, especially because we have no like emotional attachment to what's going on, and half the characters were met like a few weeks back. So
yeah, like this Uji guy is supposed to be like the strongest guy or something like that. I don't even really feel like I understand what that even means. Like we have never have we seen what it's like to be the strongest? Like I don't think we have. So it's hard for me to feel like I can be invested here. It's just kind of like stuff happens and I'm like, okay.
They're gonna win. Or they lose and it kickstarts the arc where they have to regroup.
Huh?
It'll be fine. They're gonna win. This is definitely just they're going to the end of the series.
Yeah,
kind
Dora
of thing.
and Kusanagi are running towards the threat now, so see what goes down.
Me and Roboco this week actually gave me like chills.
First of all, congratulations to me and Roboco for reaching 100 chapters.
Yeah.
Not a feat that most series can do, but also to hit us with this chapter for chapter 100. That was definitely the play.
Bondo reveals that he has a dad and he's coming home soon.
He's a shonen protagonist that has a real father.
He's just traveling overseas and he's coming back. It's going to be fine. It turns out he's not going to be able to make it. For whatever reason, the airport, there's a problem, and so he's not going to be able to make it this year. And he's upset, and he runs away, and he says, you should just remarry mom, and he's sitting alone. And Roboco tries to, like, comfort him by dressing up as his dad. And it's just Bondo's outfit with dad written on it.
Yeah.
Just very funny. They play catch and hang out, and Bondo kind of goes with it because he realizes Roboco's just trying to help. You know, that's sweet. But at the end of the middle of the chapter, really, his dad actually shows up, and he's really excited. And it turns out he's the one who sent Roboco to their house.
Yep, very crazy plot twist. I think it's really funny that Roboco is like, you're the one who sent me here. And he's just kind of like, huh? You didn't tell them that I sent you? And Roboco is just like, you didn't tell me that. Well, I guess he comes to the realization, right? He didn't even tell them that it was his house. But we see the flashback. It was like some war-stricken area. Kind of crazy. Like a little bit of backstory. Like Roboco was, I guess, like she was intended for war, which I guess they've kind of alluded to before, but
there's all this crazy stuff going on in the background we have no idea about. I think it's really funny. Yeah. But they're having some bonding moments, and it seems that Bondo's dad is also a Shonen Jump fan. He's freaking out. I love that panel so much.
Bondo gets it from him, I guess.
Yeah. But why Bobby and I said that we like this chapter was nuts was at the very end of the chapter he leaves. He was only there for a day. He says, I'm sorry, I wish I could have hung out longer. And Bondo says, it's okay, like, and he smiles, and it's like, and he walks away, and you see Bondo kind of grab onto Roboco's skirt, and he's starting to cry, and the like text box reads like, Dad looked back over his shoulder over and over again, waving the whole time. Even after Dad was out of sight, Master stood there unmoving for a long moment. That's bro.
It really hits you in the heartstrings. You know, it's just, it comes out of nowhere. This series is so frequently all about the comedy, and we got some funny moments in here too. But when they hit you with something this heartfelt, it's set up so well. When Bondo is all excited his dad is coming home, and when you see his reaction when you find out he's not coming home again, like he just gets so angry. He gets super upset, but he really does love his dad, And
he doesn't want to send him off, making him feel bad either. So that's just like another aspect of it that just made me feel like, oh.
And I think it's really beautiful too, in some sense, getting the explanation and backstory for how Roboco got there, because it almost makes it. I mean, it does. It just makes it more important to Bondo, like what Roboco is, because it's not just Roboco is this order maid that showed up to his house. This is what his father gave to his family while he's away, And that, I feel like it's so beautiful to me that they can make such a powerful like bond between Bondo and Roboco that we've been developing for 100 chapters now, and just make it even more powerful by recognizing Roboco is here for her own good because the dad wanted her to be able to live her own life, but it's also a reminder that he loves his son, you know?
Yeah, it's just super sweet. That's said, like, this series, I feel bad for anyone who's not reading it because the art style is dumb and it's not action focused, because they're really missing out on something really beautiful.
Yeah, it was honestly such a heart touching chapter. I'm really, really glad that this series has been able to go on this long to give us something like this.
I hope it's able to go on as long as the author wills it to be. I am itching for that anime now. I want to see that part animated. Think how nuts it's gonna be. It's gonna get some tears rolling.
Oh yeah,
I can already tell.
You just get some nice music playing during the moment.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
So this thing is stronger than I guess we gave it credit for, right?
It just looks so stupid. I didn't think it was gonna be a problem.
He does look pretty stupid, but it looks like Maki's like actually struggling.
Yeah, Maki. If apparently he can reach Mach 3, which I don't even know how fast that is. Like I know Mach speed is very fast, but in my brain I just can't visualize like, oh, that means he's this much faster than everything else. So it's just kind of like a Dragon Ball fight at this point, where I'm watching just two forces beat against each other. The one wins.
So like Mach 3 is like a military aircraft.
It's 3 Machs.
Yeah.
You know that?
it's like 2,000 something miles an hour, which is like on the highway we're going 70. So it's fast.
This is just so absurdly powerful at this point that I'm just like, dang, all right, let's fight it out. Which one of you can punch harder? Come on.
Yeah, it does look extremely silly. Like that one panel where you see it like fly around in a circle and it's coming like kind of out of the page a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just like a lump with like a jet blast coming out its butt. And I'm like,
yeah,
okay, man. Sure. Whatever.
It's really silly, but you know, it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I didn't expect a threat seemingly this big to just come out of nowhere like this, but I mean the explanation was already given. Maki doesn't exorcise demons, she just beats them up, so he came back. I just didn't realize that they come back this strong, because this is obviously much stronger than now it used to be. Maybe they're introducing this because it's gonna happen again later on someone extremely strong, but I don't know, man. I mean, at the moment, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this fight felt a little meaningless. I guess because it just feels like they reintroduced Maki, and now Maki's either gonna lose and get out, or Maki's just gonna beat it, and I don't really understand the consequences. But maybe this is supposed to set up the idea of like this mechanic, because we haven't really seen this happen to a known character before this.
Squeezing its way into this week's podcast is a Choujin X chapter. We kind of get some straight up backstory on Choujin X, and also the organization's opinion on Azuma. Like, they don't trust him, which makes complete sense. But they're going on some sort of training camp.
The way that the Shonen Jump app and website label this chapter is 26.1.
So it feels like a side story.
Yeah, I mean the first like several pages of this were not even related to the main characters. It seems like they're just setting up the idea of like Choujin X. I think they're just trying to give us perspective, right, as to like how dangerous Choujin X is. It just seems like it's supposed to be scaling up so that we have some sort of idea of how strong Choujin X really is, because obviously that is not Azuma or Tokyo as of right now, but it's giving us like something to look for when they do get stronger. It does feel like that the moment that we got with the characters when they're talking is cut off short, but I guess this is just part 1 of the chapter. I'm not really sure. So I mean, I guess it's technically like an incomplete type of thing. I didn't expect this chapter to come out like at all, period, like this soon. I mean, I was just kind of surprised. I was like, oh, okay, but I guess there's supposed to be a part 2. I mean, that's how the chapter's titled too, Summer on Beast Island Part 1, which we didn't really get Summer on Beast Island. So
but we probably, that means we're probably gonna get another chapter sooner rather than later,
right? Yeah.
So thank you for joining us for this particularly long episode of Shonen Dump podcast. A lot of good stuff this week, and we guess we're not going to see you next week. We're going to try and maybe come up with something. No promises there because we're both going to be out of town. But it happens to just coincide with a break, so works out in our favor. Nonetheless, please, if you would, like and subscribe, leave a comment. We will respond, and we hope to see you next week or
See y'all
next 2 weeks.
Yep.
See you guys.